Hey, welcome to the UI Animation in Principle Level 2 module. In the previous module, we have already seen how to use animation timeline and drivers to create animations on a single artboard. In this module, we're gonna explore more complex animations inside Principle like these. In this module, we're gonna see new techniques and tricks to create more complex animations. It depends totally on what you can imagine to create with Principle. So without any further ado, let's get started and create more complex animations. So we're gonna go through some examples to try different techniques and tricks to create different kind of animations. So let's get started with the first example. So as you can see here, I have two frames here or two artboards here on Figma. One is called home page and another one is called select your country. So what we are doing here is we are trying to find a solution to a problem. So basically, instead of adding a simple button on the home page, we are trying to use the gesture of basically sliding this country menu from the right hand side. So basically we have a kind of a sneak peek of a country on the right hand side, and we're just trying to tell the user that okay, if you're gonna swipe from the right side, this whole country menu will open up. So that's what we need to prototype and need to test with the users, like how is the experience of this, and will it gonna work smoothly or will it gonna create a better experience or not. So here comes the use of Principle, right? So quickly we can prototype this whole thing between these two screens and we can test on users, we can test in-house, and if it goes into development, then it's very easy for developers also to visualize okay, how's this animation gonna work. So let's get started, and I'm gonna go and import these files into Principle. So I'm gonna select both these frames and I'm gonna import selected frames. So yeah, we are here, and let me adjust this preview window, and we are here inside Principles. So what we're gonna do here is when we're gonna left swipe or left slide my finger on the right hand side of the screen or over this area, let me create a rectangle to show that particular area. So basically, so what we are trying to do here is we want to reveal this entire country box, and so we want this country box to reveal only when we slide a finger on the right hand side of the screen towards left hand side. So as we swipe a finger, this thing should reveal like this. So how are we gonna do that? So let's focus on the first frame, and I'm gonna create a new rectangle layer, and I'm gonna keep the size similar to 896, and I'm gonna create like two rectangles, and I'm gonna create one more with the same height, which is 896 as you can see here. So now we have two rectangles here placed, and it doesn't matter like the width of the rectangle, it doesn't matter. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rename these layers. So one is layer 1 and the green one is layer 2, and I'm gonna group these layers. So I'm gonna call it layer 1, and another one also group, and I'm gonna call it layer 2. So we have layer 1 and layer 2, and now I'm gonna group these layers into a single group, and I'm gonna call it like fake layers. So because these are just kind of invisible layers which will help us to guide this animation. So, and I'm gonna move this below this select country thingy so that we can see. So what we are trying to do here is we gonna apply the paging effect on this. So let me bring the preview window. Okay, one second. Yeah, so we're gonna apply the paging effect on this, and when I slide this layer this way, I want this select your country thingy to come from the right hand side. So yeah, let's select this fake layers group and go to horizontal and select page. So after applying page, we can see here the animation is happening, but it's not staying. So if you remember from a previous module, to make the pagination or the page effect work, we need to reduce the size of the group. So right now our group is having layer 1 and layer 2, and it's the same size of the entire layer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reduce the size to somewhere like here, and now let's try So now you can see the paging is working, but it's not working if I click on the edge. So we need to fix that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push it here, and I'm gonna increase this area to somewhere here. So now this thing is working fine. As you can see, now this thing is working fine, even this thing. So with the use of pagination, we have achieved the behavior which we want when the user, swipes on the right hand side of the screen. So you can see it works, and it works on the edge also. So it's pretty smooth. And now only thing we need to do is, so let me just increase the size of this layer to the somewhere here. Yeah. And after getting this result, what we're gonna do is we're gonna just reduce the fill opacity to 0, so that we don't need these layers to see. And these are just fake helping layers, so they will be hidden basically. So now we can't see what the action is happening. So now let's go to drivers panel, and okay, let's bring the color back, because we need the drivers panel to see like what is happening. So let's bring the color back, and yeah, let's use the driver panel to see like when this red is coming on and towards the edge. So this is the point where the red is exactly on the edge, on the right edge. And now we need to bring a menu, and we need to slide in this menu from the right hand side when we give this gesture. So let's copy this menu from the second artboard, and I'm gonna paste on the top of fake layers. And let's go to 0 first, and I'm gonna go to 0, and I'm gonna move this outside the frame, and I'm gonna go to this select your country, select this select your country group, and I'm gonna add a keyframe on the position, which is center X, and also a keyframe on opacity. So right now on 0 we are on the outside, and with opacity let's make it 0. And when we move to the position when our red rectangle is directly on the edge of our directly on the right edge, then we gonna move this select your country to the right, and also gonna increase opacity to 0, and zoom in and position it correctly somewhere here. And okay, yeah, looks good. So this is 0, and this is how this works. We also need to take care of this small sneak peek of a select your country menu. So I'm just gonna call it menu, and so we also need to animate this small menu, and for that I'm gonna go to drivers, and I'm gonna add some keyframes here. So first of all, I'm gonna add a keyframe on center X, and then opacity, and then a keyframe on scale. Yeah, and then gonna go to the final position, and I'm gonna move this to the edge of a main menu, and maybe reduce the opacity to 0. So first of all, before reducing the opacity to 0, let's increase the scale to maybe 1.2, and because of the scale this is coming out, so we need to take care of it and just right at the edge. And then I'm gonna reduce the opacity to 0, and I'm gonna move this menu to the back of select your country main menu. Now let's see the animation. It looks something like this. Because of the change in opacity from 0 to 100 on a main menu, we can see this overlapping happening. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to this select your country main menu, and I'm gonna remove this opacity, and also I'm gonna go here and remove this opacity. So we don't have this opacity keyframe on a select your country. And now let's see the animation. So it looks something like this. And now let's hide the colors of a fake layer. So let's go to layer 4, reduce the fill opacity, and layer 3, sorry, and reduce the fill opacity. Now let's see the animation. It looks something like this, and we have already taken components from the second artboard, so I'm gonna just delete this artboard, and all we needed was one artboard, and inside that we have created this animation. That's the power of principle. So I'm gonna just reset, and now you can see like this animation, and you can see this so fluid. As you can see here, design is a little bit off here compared to Figma design. So we can see here we have this whole border till the edge, and also our flags are having this whole rounded layers. So on a principle we don't have that. So I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna increase the roundness. Let me check on Figma how much the roundness is, and it's 8 pixels. So I'm gonna go to principle, gonna make it 8. I'm gonna fast forward this video so that you don't have to watch me adding roundness to these boxes. So yeah, let me fast forward it, and I'm gonna be right back. So finally I have fixed the design on principle as it was on Figma, and fixed all the roundness, and it was a very simple animation, but it required some hack using a pagination effect. And we all we did was like create 2 layers and add that pagination thingy on those 2 layers, and using drivers we attach this animation to our select your country menu. So basically when you give this gesture, this animation is triggered, which is a pagination animation, and this triggers our select your country menu animation, which is linked to this animation via drivers. So you can see only 8 keyframes we had, like 3 keyframes on menu, on a small menu, and 1 keyframe on a main menu, which is like basically sliding from outside. You know, you can also go a little bit creative here. So let me show you a little example. So let me first increase the size of this entire artboard. So let me make it like somewhere around 800 pixels. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a staircase like scenario in between these flags. So let me add keyframes to these flags. So I'm gonna go to this Brazil 5, and I'm gonna add the keyframe. Don't forget to add the keyframe when you are trying to move the position. So I'm gonna add the keyframe on X, and I'm gonna do for everyone center X. Same goes for 3, center X. It's better to create the keyframe on the final position. So let us create this keyframe on the final position. So let's click on add, and for the 4th one we are done, and let's select on 5th, center X. Let's select on 7th, 6th, 7th. So we are adding keyframes on center X on each of the flag, and only on the final position, which is a 42 frame, because that's the position we need. That's the final position we need. And for the initial one, let's go to 0. And for the initial one, we're gonna start displacing things around. So for Brazil, I'm gonna move it 1 pixels. For the second one, I'm gonna move it to like somewhere here. Third one, somewhere here. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. So basically, just try to create the staircase like scenario, so that when you use a gesture and these flags will come with a delay. So now let's see the animation. As you can see on the top, we can see the animation, like, you know, the last one is coming at the very end. So yeah, and now let's reduce the size of our artboard to 414, and let's see the animation. So you can see here, this is how, so you can see here the animation looks pretty smooth, and you can see, like, if you hold it and drag slowly, you can see like the flags are coming in a staircase like scenario. So that's how you create that's how you find a UX solution to your problems, and you can quickly create prototypes, and you don't need to go into too much detail like we have done with this staircase like scenario. You can quickly create this prototype using this pagination, and use it on your mobile device and take feedback, do some usability testing. So yeah, it's a pretty good feature in principle, and we just need to find hacks to create different animation. It's kind of a different tricks to solve different kind of problems. That's it, and in the next lesson we're gonna see how we can think animation quickly for a splash screen and for a login screen. So basically, if you have like given like two screens, how you can think like animation between those two screens quickly. So yeah, we're gonna see that in the next lesson.